Same vein, we're going to go straight across to Robin Raina, Chairman and CEO of Ebix Incorporated, joining us at this point. Good evening, Robin. Thank you very much for taking the time out. Wonderful to have you speaking to us. We're going to focus on the road ahead. And as I bring you, I also want to put out what CNBC CII CEO's poll survey, the top outlines are, or the top numbers are. And we'll take a look. As we look at the numbers, I'm going to ask you, Robin, you've also seen those numbers. Do you agree with that sentiment?
Look, Mani, it's hard for me to. I agree with some of that, and I don't agree with some of that. So I think I don't have those numbers in front of me, but I can tell you I briefly looked it through, and I disagree with many of them, and I kind of agree with some of them.
Well, because I'm just going to quickly read them out and then I'll go to take the next question. 70%, 77% of the CEOs want calibrated exit from lockdown. 86% of the CEOs say graded exit is positive for business. 73% CEOs say India's COVID-19 strategy has been successful so far. 54% expect business to return to normal in 6 months. 71% say layoffs are not imminent in their organization, but 34% say wage reductions are imminent in their organization. 86% CEOs say workplace is equipped for social distancing. 36% say major initiative to institutionalize work from home. And 58% expect major economic reforms soon. Now let me ask you, Robin Raina, what do you think is the way forward? Can we expect the government to bail us out and put cash back into our pockets? When I say our pockets, individual entrepreneurs, industries, etc. How do we get out of this? Because this disease is not going away anywhere.
Look, this is not going to be a short recovery. Meaning, I think I agree with many of those things that you said in the survey. At the same time, for example, I think CEOs sometimes don't want to talk about layoffs because they think it's culturally not the right thing to do, so everybody avoids that topic. But having said that, those are things that are happening today and are going to continue to happen. Layoffs are going to happen because that's the status of the way India stands today. Having said that, this is not something that will go away overnight. We're going to see, in my view, we are going to see a V-shaped recovery. I think the next 6 months are going to be difficult, but I do believe that after 6 months, we are going to see, back to growth kind of an economics. I don't think it's fair for us to leave everything to the government. I think it's basically, we got to know what the status of the country today is. We got to know what is the amount of cash the government can afford. What is the present state of our economy, right? Having said that, when you consider all of that, you have to kind of think through that we are a country with 1.3 billion people. How much money, even if the government decides that we want to please everybody, how are they going to do it? It's not just feasible economically. So I think we got to look at more at a macro level at some of the things that we need to be focusing on. One of the things I believe, for example, is we need to really kickstart the economy. Now, what are the areas we could kickstart? For example, we know that there's a manufacturing challenge today in China. Countries want to get out of China. India does not today have a comprehensive manufacturing policy. Until we create a comprehensive manufacturing policy, and this can't be an overnight knee-jerk reaction. What needs to happen is we need to lay out a 10-year comprehensive policy. We need to start subsidizing the purchase of land for these outside companies coming in. We need to give them enough credit saying, look, if you generate jobs within India in manufacturing, we will give you tax breaks for the next 5 to 10 years. We have to do something special to attract these companies over to India, because otherwise they're going to worry about, nobody wants to set up a manufacturing base in a place where you have unions, where you could have issues of, government imposing what you have to pay and what you don't have to pay, because manufacturers don't like that. So we will have to come up with a 10-year policy. So from my perspective, that's a big opportunity, manufacturing industry. The second is, it's simple areas like HR spending. We need to ensure that we make HR spending a tax deductible. What I mean by that is, so let's say there is a company who has 1,000 employees and is spending X amount of money on human resources last year in 2019. What we need to do is we need to ensure that if that company now does more hiring, we take that additional hiring and call that a tax deductible expense for the company, so that the companies know that if we are hiring more people, we are getting better credits, right, from the government, and government is supporting that move. So I think that's another way to kickstart the economy. We also, in my viewpoint, we also will need to look at try and shore up our R&D. countries, if you look at Canada, Canada is giving 75% R&D credits right now to kickstart. And if you can generate intellectual property within Canada and show that you created, use local HR, local resources to do it, they give you 75% money back. Now, I'm not suggesting Government of India does 75, but let's start with at least 20. At least give a tax deductible break to people or do something on that account. So there is a number of different steps, Anand, and one of the key ones in my view, which hasn't been talked as often about, is bank credit. So what is happening is Indian companies, all companies in India are borrowing money from banks. When they borrow money from banks, they have particular leverages that they've agreed. Now what is happening is the leverages are going for a toss in the corona period. Companies and banks are coming forth and using that leverage to demand and renegotiate new deals. And when banks renegotiate new deals, those deals they try to negotiate at higher interest rates, which means you're hurting the company rather than helping the company. And that government needs to put a strict ban on. Banks need to be told, look, you cannot use this as an opportunity. You need to do a leverage freeze. If somebody's leverage was X and now, and that leverage has now become Y because of Corona, you need to live with it as long as the company originally had a reasonable leverage, right? So these are some of the key things that I feel, and I could add a lot more as we go on, but I think I'll stop here for the time being.
Well, no, that's fantastic, and I'll have to pause here. I'm just going to ask you, we have limited time today, Robin, so, but what you have suggested is phenomenal. We're expecting the government to release an economic package and make some announcement. We'll see if it is in sync with what you have said, and we'll try and get you back sometime early next week, Monday or Tuesday. But final question to you, and is what do you think is the horizon that we need to look at when we'll be back up and running? Many are saying 6 months. Do you agree with 6 months? Because only 25% CEOs believe it will be a V-shaped curve for us. What's your horizon?
I absolutely agree with that 6 month horizon, because I think India is at the epicenter of the world today. Meaning the world is dependent on India in many ways. Meaning what is going to happen is as growth, India is a country, meaning the way we are based, the information technology is still our key strength. Look, and the government needs to recognize that. And we sometimes forget that. And we need to focus on the IT sector and give them the right kind of tax breaks from that perspective. Having said that, we will need to really be focused. And I feel that India is well placed to really grow its economy. I think what is going to happen is, what is going to be critical though is how does the travel sector open out? Now, in my view, there has to be a graded lockdown opening. But I do believe that as we go forward, you know, India hasn't had as bad an impact, courtesy our younger youth and so on, and better immunity and so on. I believe the government has done a great job. So I feel that as we move forward, India is very well placed to go back on this. But I do believe that government will have to rethink a few things, like, for example, taxes. Defer the taxes. If you have to collect taxes and income taxes in 20, defer it, collect it. I'm not saying don't collect it. Give people an interest-free deferral so that they can spend that money back into their businesses.
Right. Well, there are many ways that this can be done, and we need to speak at length, so we'll do it. What's on cards is perhaps a CEO roundtable, and we will do that sometime next week here on The Right Stand. And Robin, I'm going to request you now itself to keep your calendar free and take some time out on that day. We'll do it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Wonderful. And we will connect once again next week. Thank you very much. We're going to take a short break on that note. When we come back, it's time to hit the right note. And it's that lilting, amazing, magical voice of Mahalakshmi Iyer.